Behind the facade of nuclear might lies a paradox. In North Korea, where war ceased over 6 decades ago, generals' uniforms sparkle with medals, sparking curiosity. Why is the prospect of a new war foreign to this country's elites? And why must their women defend the homeland with weapons in hand? Join me on a fascinating journey through a maze of mysteries where truth and fiction intertwine, revealing the secrets of one of the most enigmatic armies in the world, the North Korean Army. The Armed Forces of North Korea. Let's understand what scares us. What are the main functions of the North Korean Army? To summarize in one sentence, there are 3 main aspects. The primary functions are ensuring internal stability, maintaining external policy stability, and contributing to the country's economic life. In 1937, 7 months before the founding of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, the People's Revolutionary Army was established by then General Kim Il-sung. The most well-known division of the army is the ground forces, with nearly 1 million soldiers. The air and air defense forces operate numerous aircraft produced in the USSR and China. However, there are reports that alongside the old MiG and Sukhoi aircraft, the North Korean Air Force now possesses advanced Russian combat aircraft. The Navy operates in the western and eastern seas off North Korea's coast. One of the most significant developments for this branch was the introduction of vessels capable of transporting highly trained commandos to distant South Korean islands in the event of war. The naval arsenals also include a large number of torpedo boats and submarines. There are 2 other types of armed forces in North Korea. First, the strategic forces are responsible for the development and operation of the current missile program. This group organizes large-scale weapons test firings, and its scientific community is responsible for creating missile weapons. The other branch, the Special Operations Forces, is the best-equipped elite unit of the North Korean Army. They are the counterpart to the Navy SEALs. Better equipped than standard ground forces, they would be incredibly effective in guerrilla warfare tactics. Maintaining external policy stability. Let's move on to the second function of the Army, maintaining external policy stability. North Korea maintains its army solely for defensive foreign policy purposes. Despite some speculations, North Korean elites are absolutely not interested in starting a war with the United States or even South Korea due to the technological inferiority of their army. They are not irrational kamikazes. On the contrary, they want to live as long as possible. North Korea's military strategy has been built around the concept of defense for many years. The main goal of this strategy is to ensure that any attack on North Korea inflicts maximum human and economic damage on the attacker. This is why Pyongyang has so desperately pursued the development of its nuclear program. Any unprovoked attack on North Korea would lead to significant damage to Seoul and hundreds, if not thousands, of civilian deaths, which South Korea wants to avoid. American troops stationed in South Korea, numbering several thousand, would also suffer consequences. The army remains a serious deterrent in terms of foreign policy and diplomacy. Additionally, the North Korean army performs some economic construction functions, especially during mass crises such as the 1990s famine, various natural disasters, or the COVID-19 pandemic. They are often assigned politically significant projects, such as the Masikryong ski resort. Kim Jong-un encourages the development of a market economy more consistently than his predecessors, although still on a very limited scale. Nevertheless, the North Korean military continues to play a huge role in the country's economy. It was reasonable to expect that a focus on developing the civilian economy would be accompanied by some reduction in defense spending. This has not happened. Moreover, the North Korean military remains extremely important to the country's political system. The importance of the armed forces is reflected both in the country's ideology, such as Songun, and in the cultural symbolism of national holidays, such as the Armed Forces Foundation Day. Enemies of North Korea. The army has a small budget. For example, in 2013, it was only $5 billion compared to leading countries. This figure is minuscule. Nevertheless, it ranks among the top 5 because it can be supplemented by 8 million reservists at any time and has 10 nuclear warheads. The first launch tests were conducted in 2006. The North Korean army is designed to fight 2 main enemies, South Korea and the United States. Long ago, South Korea chose the path of capitalism and allied relations with America, becoming a rather successful state as a result. In North Korea, this was seen as a betrayal. Its entire ideology is supported by stubborn conservatives who are not ready for change. Even the death of the main leader did not change the situation. His son and successor, Kim Jong-un, continues to strengthen ideological principles. The North Korean elite simply will not allow him to make changes. Despite many shortcomings, the North Korean army can fight against the USA. The presence of nuclear weapons further exacerbates the situation, especially for neighboring countries including China and Russia, in addition to South Korea. Military service. All men in North Korea are required to serve in the military. The service term ranges from 5 to 12 years, which is significantly different from military obligations worldwide. Before 2003, this period was 13 years. The conscription age for North Koreans starts at 17, and avoiding service in the armed forces is nearly impossible. Exceptions are granted to young people attending universities, those with disabilities, or those with health conditions that prevent them from serving. I think this is not bad for the totalitarian regime that frightens us so much. There are also alternative forms of this state duty. One can work in factories or collective farms. Refusal to serve is considered a serious offense and can result in severe punishment, including imprisonment. Being in the army can open opportunities for advancement in government or the armed forces. Conscripts are provided with food, clothing, and a small stipend. Do you think 12 years of full state support is not bad for a young body? I've always wanted to hear the answer to this question from my parents. Yes, there is no freedom, but there is order. Military personnel may have travel restrictions, especially when it comes to leaving the country. It is precisely because of the size of the North Korean army that it is called one of the strongest armies in the world. Defense echelons. As I mentioned, the ground forces of the North Korean army number around 1 million people. They form several levels of defense. Notice, we always talk about defense. So why are we scared? Here is the answer. The first line of defense is located on the border with South Korea. It includes infantry and artillery formations. In the event of a possible war, they must either break through South Korean border fortifications or prevent enemy troops from penetrating deep into the country. The second echelon is placed a bit further back from the first. It consists of ground forces, tank, and mechanized units. Its actions also depend on who starts the war first. If North Korea initiates the conflict, the second echelon will advance deep into South Korean defenses, potentially capturing Seoul. No more defense in that case. If North Korea is attacked, the second echelon will have to eliminate enemy breakthroughs. The third echelon's task is to defend Pyongyang. It also serves as a training and reserve base for the first two echelons. The fourth echelon is located on the border with China and Russia. It belongs to training reserve units and is often called the last resort echelon. Women in the North Korean army. In the country, women have long been able to serve voluntarily. Their service term was 10 years before 2003, and after that, it was 7 years. However, many sources state that since 2015, all women are required to undergo mandatory military service. Recruitment occurs immediately after receiving a high school diploma. Thus, we have war brides. Women serve in the army until the age of 23. Many experts believe these measures were necessary due to the 1990s famine, which resulted in a low birth rate and a shortage of men of conscription age. North Korea is not a pioneer in this regard. For example, in Israel, Peru, Malaysia, and other countries, women have been required to serve for a long time. Major shortcomings of the North Korean army, often written about without reliable information, can instill fear in many countries. However, it has many shortcomings. Limited fuel supplies allow for extended military operations for no more than a month. Inability to maintain long-term defense due to food shortages. Lack of modern technical reconnaissance means reducing the effectiveness of artillery fire. Coastal defense relies on outdated missiles, and the Navy in general lacks autonomy and stealth. Modern Air Force and air defense systems are absent. Despite these shortcomings, the North Korean army remains one of the strongest in the world. This is mainly because over 1 million people are ready to defend it, and several million more can be mobilized from the reserve in a short time. The effectiveness of the North Korean army can only be tested in a real war, which the whole world fears. No country, including the United States, currently wants to provoke a conflict with Pyongyang. Can North Korea's nuclear weapons strike the USA? According to the Japanese defense minister, a North Korean missile recently tested could potentially reach any point on the US mainland if launched on a normal trajectory. This raises serious concerns, given North Korea's history of aggression and its ongoing nuclear program. The international community will need to closely monitor the situation and work together to ensure that the country does not pose a threat to global security. The missile's range appears to exceed 8,700 miles, enough to reach the continental United States. The 6 most likely target cities are New York, Chicago, Houston, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Washington. A nuclear strike could devastate a city, leading to catastrophic consequences. This information is concerning, and we will all be closely watching the situation. How do Korean generals receive medals and orders, despite no wars for 60 years? To conclude, let's talk about internet hoaxes concerning the North Korean army. A photo purportedly showing a group of North Korean generals adorned with military medals, including on their jacket sleeves and trousers, often circulates on humorous websites accompanied by derisive comments about the country. Comments on the photo say, "North Korean officers can be easily defeated by a magnet." While some North Korean military personnel have indeed been awarded a large number of medals, the photo above was altered. The soldiers in the original image, which has been circulating since at least 2007, do not have medals on their sleeves or trousers. Several details suggest the image was doctored. First, the medals pinned to the trousers appear to be copied and pasted from those pinned to the lower right corner of the men's jackets. The medals and their placement on the sleeves of the last 4 men in line are also identical. I did not find official photos of North Korean generals with military awards on their pants. However, a 1995 photo shows a group of officers adorned with numerous distinctions. These images often come with the implication that the soldiers depicted do not deserve the medals they display because North Korean military forces have not been involved in combat for decades. However, military medals are often awarded for non-combat achievements. Also, for the magnet enthusiasts, military medals are usually made of gold, silver, or brass, which are non-magnetic materials. The North Korean army is no less secretive than the state itself. All information about its armaments is approximate, especially regarding the quantity of equipment. However, this does not justify such memes. You, friends, have not only a reason, but also an opportunity to join our team. If you have video editing skills, can voice over videos in Russian, English, or other languages, or write interesting scripts, we would be happy to work with you.